Hi everybody, this is me shoveling snow at my home. Yes, that tent right there is my home. This tarp shelter is my home. I'm a DNC whistleblower being refused cancer treatment. I'm stage 4 cancer. Paul Dragon, the executive director of CBOEO, is also on staff at University of Vermont, specifically their healthcare center. He is apparently an ally, very glaringly and apparently an ally of Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown, whose offices got raided because of well, there was already an ongoing long criminal investigation into Brown and Cuomo. Anyway, Cuomo was in Epstein's black book, just like his client, Donald Trump, who was is a famous real estate mogul in New York, and Andrew Cuomo is a real estate attorney. They're also allies of the Clintons, despite the vaudeville show that you see in the news. That's all to score points with their constituents. Ain't none of that real. And that's been like that in politics for as long as there's been politics. One side just panders to the minority community. I'm a Native American, I'm a female, I'm gay, lesbian, transgender, and when you're Native American, that makes you a Native American two-spirit. We don't respect gender roles. So when they gay bash me as a transgender female, it's racism. So I'm out here because Paul Dragon at CBOEO made sure I didn't get a HUD assessment done to cover up the domestic violence by the attorney for whom I work, who swore me in and immunized me and used me as his detective, making tons of cash off my work as a cryptologist. My father was a cryptologist for the Navy and worked with Bob McNamara, not necessarily personally, but Bob McNamara handled matters of national security for the Kennedys, and they even had my father embedded on a Navy ship in that blockade during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So if anybody knows anything about military brats pick up the skills of their military parents, and as does the spouse, everybody does. And I know that because I was contacted by a Homeland Security agent, an oligarch named Virginia G. Piper, who said she was a cop who investigates human trafficking. She also said she was a special counselor to military dependents who have special defenses, so it's hard to get through to them when you're trying to help them. That's why military veterans often commit suicide, because they see it as a sign of weakness, as help. Now I'm asking for help and I'm getting told to go fuck myself. And since these bogus tax-exempt nonprofits aren't allowed to do that, they falsify medical records. Dragon used to work. He still does work at the state of Vermont in their Human Services Agency. He's a chief administrator at the Human Services Board, who does the hearings when you want to contest a decision by Emergency Services Division or whatever unit in Children and Family Services. You request a fair hearing. He made sure I didn't get a fair hearing. And basically, he's the one who came up with the housing the homeless in hotels during the global pandemic. And he worked with Democrat Peter Welch, who actually went after Julian Assange. And that pretty much sums that up. But basically, he made the rules, so they're letting him break them as he sees fit. And what they did was they originally housed us and quarantined us as vulnerable adults, and then he came up with the policy, conveniently, that if you want to continue to have hotel housing, you have to sign up at he made sure his organization got the contract to handle the homeless people. You had to sign up, get on the list. I recorded their worker, whoever, whatever the hell he is, Chris, doing the intake, getting me on the list to have a HUD assessment done. That assessment is mandatory. It's not optional. You can face sanctions if you don't do that assessment. They want those statistics. He made sure that assessment didn't get done because they knew I was a domestic violence murder victim. And the whistleblower who got Byron Brown's offices raided by 4 federal jurisdictions. So what he ended up doing was having the people at Emergency Services Division threaten me and say they weren't going to extend me unless I worked with Marcus. They said I was not on the list at CVOEO. When I recorded them 4 times extending me because they confirmed that I was on that list, and then said I was on Marcus's list. Now they know Marcus works at Safe Harbor. They know that they sent me to the police because somebody went online, pretended to be me, and got Vermont Medicaid in my name without my knowledge, forged my name, committed perjury. I don't even qualify to apply for Vermont Medicaid, much less get it. So they committed perjury on that application and then forged my signature. The cop, I went down and showed the awards letter to the people at EDS or ESD who told me I couldn't even apply. And I said, look, I got an awards letter for Vermont Medicaid. I called Green Mountain Care, which is the Medicaid division of Children and Family Services, where Paul Dragon works, or did work, and they said that somebody went online on May 1st and applied and thought it was me. She said, you have to go police with that. And I recorded her saying that. I go to the police. About a week later, the George Floyd protests were ongoing. I'm the one that suggested the Mizzou football player protest to Chad and the NAACP. He apparently pawned it off as his idea, and he got him to do it. It devastated the economy, just like it intended for it to do, because I was raped and murdered. I was sentenced to death. I recorded a doctor raping me with a speculum, trying to teach me a lesson for investigating them good old boys for resegregation. And you have to remember, Ferguson was blowing up. Then I bring it over to Mizzou, where it belonged, because that entire administration, Jay Nixon, a Hillary Clinton ally, Chris Koster, a Hillary Clinton ally, who was the Attorney General, was working with the Nixon-appointed Mo Health Net director to maintain segregation, being falsified medical records that they then turn around and use to defraud HUD, the Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and the people at the Clinton allies at United and Centene profit as well because of something about Obamacare. They get reimbursed. They make money off the fraud too. It used to be when you defrauded an insurance company, you better hope to hell that the police get you before their internal auditors get you. That's not how it is anymore, because you're not really stealing United's money. You're stealing from the government, because United and Centene all get reimbursed. That ACA, Affordable Care Act, was hatched with Catholic Health CEO Lloyd Dean. Catholic Health has formed a nationwide monopoly with Tenet, Banner, and Tenet, whose CEO got arrested for $400 million in healthcare fraud. That's just in Georgia and Virginia. So there's a lot of ongoing criminal investigations. When Chad launched this investigation originally, it was into child sex trafficking and child pornography that also involved healthcare fraud and Brady violations that got me wrongfully imprisoned with cancer that led to a trafficking victim's death. He was a young teen when I called a sex offender probation officer and got one of the pedophiles arrested. And I testified in that hearing, got the bastard 20 years. Turns out he was never supposed to have gotten probation. He was actually supposed to get a mandatory 30-year day-for-day prison sentence. So when they screwed that up and gave him new victims, they covered it up. That's why they wouldn't let Homeland Security file new charges based on the evidence that I turned over. Well, Chad said, you risked your life. You're a very, very gifted savant, yet you spent your whole life fighting for trafficking victims. You have to think about why that is. And then he talked to me about my own history. My parents were involved. My Aunt Mary, who's an RN, who has been involved in these fraud scams at some level, even dated a doctor, had an affair with a doctor behind her husband's back. Her husband's a radical alcoholic and addict. They were trafficking drugs with the Clintons, because we're talking about Missouri. It borders Arkansas. My mother and her family are from northern Arkansas, about an hour and a half away from Hot Springs, where Roger Clinton, Bill Clinton's brother, was running drugs. He turned the whole, not only Arkansas, but Missouri. Let's see, you go clockwise, you go Missouri, Illinois, Tennessee, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, turned the whole thing into a narco state when he was flying in drugs through MENA with Barry Seals for the Iran-Contra crap. So I was a child sex trafficking victim of all that. My mother's brother went to prison for drug running. It's still going on. It hasn't stopped. Roger Clinton was convicted of drug trafficking. As soon as Bill got elected president, he pardoned him. That's why the Democrats aren't saying much to Trump about pardoning all these people, because they did it to themselves. They let Bill Clinton do it. And Donald Trump has many interviews where he's praising Bill Clinton and defending Bill Clinton and his impeachment from Paula Jones, with the Paula Jones crap and the Monica Lewinsky stuff. So I'm out here shoveling snow in very cold temperatures, lost about 60 pounds over the past 3 months or so. Been out here 3 months. And it's because I will not be at a healthcare clinic that the police and Dragon's own co-workers put under criminal investigation. He's saying you either be a patient at that clinic or this. Fuck you. I choose this. You don't bully me, motherfucker. I ain't the fucking one. You've already had protests down at Battery Park because of your fucking racist police bullshit. Now everybody knows it's you, bitch. You're the one the police have the goods on, that the police are using to blackmail everybody so they don't get charged when they fuck with people of color and kill us or beat us or whatever the fuck they do. That's my message to you. You're a punk-ass, phony-ass, Clinton-loving, Epstein-loving bitch. You're helping Epstein's friends kill me to obstruct the Epstein investigation, obstruct the Ferguson murder investigation, because falsified medical records played a role in Michael Brown Sr. and Liz McSpadden not getting the money they truly deserved, and probably played a role in Michael Brown getting murdered, played a role in Sasha Minu Curry killing herself as a rape victim after you confessed on ESPN's Outside the Lines to multiple felonies. First of all, having her sign away her academic scholarship while you had her involuntarily committed to a psych ward, but didn't have her court-appointed attorney present to advise her not to do it because the signature's fucking invalid, which means you basically kicked her off the swim team illegally, then illegally ended her college career to shut her up about being raped by your precious football players, who you sanctioned and kicked off the team for the rape without actual due process. You never actually charged them in a criminal court. Which, if they were white, that never would have happened. You would have had to have charged them before their parents would have let you kick them off the football team and humiliate them. So, you're just a bunch of scumbag fucks, drug-running, child pornography loving, rapist, pedophile scumbags. And that's it. I'll shovel fucking snow before I shovel your fucking bullshit under the rug. How about that? Fucking asshole. Oh, then they falsify the records trying to say I'm schizophrenic. Meanwhile, they're making criminal allegations. Can't have it both ways. If I'm schizophrenic, then that means I'm so fucking delusional, I don't know what I'm talking about. And they damn sure don't raid a mayor's office with 4 jurisdictions based on the word of a schizophrenic. And you don't go stalking a schizophrenic's Facebook page. And schizophrenics can't form mens rea. Ergo, you can't make a criminal allegation. You fucked yourself. You stupid cokehead addicts. And you're following the directives of white privileged cokehead addicts like Chad Cronin, my boss and ex-boyfriend. Chad used to fucking get high, stripped down to nothing but his underwear and a t-shirt, his little tidy briefs, boxer briefs, and sit next to me and start flirting. But he was so fucking high on his medication, some of them were psych meds that he mixed with narcotics, he'd pass out before we could even do anything. Then he'd wake up the next day acting like it didn't happen. Come out with shaming me. Talking about how he hated women and he'd rather puke than eat pussy. Well, not that I thought he wanted to do that anyway, but what the fuck were you doing running? And then get drunk later on that night or high and come on to me again. What the fuck he thought was going to happen, I don't know. Maybe he thought I was going to suck his dick. I don't know, but I lived with him for a while. We were best of friends. And I met him in AA because of his father's hospital was hiding the fact that I had cancer and telling me that I was just an addict and I was malingering for narcotics. That the pain was in my head. That it was all from me being, I had pelvic floor issues from being raped as a child. And they said that my father raped me. He's a rapist, all right, but he didn't rape me like that. It was mostly his mouth and allowing other people to do it. And he did that because he profited from it. He blackmailed them. Now, right now my toes are frozen. I gotta get in my very warm, toasty bed. I've got heat. It ain't much, but it's something. It's very safe and clean burning propane. I've got it set up on a huge metal oil pan that I got at AutoZone, and I have the lantern right in the middle. And I mean, it's huge. It's this big, and the lantern's real small. That lantern on a very low flame keeps it 45 degrees in there, so it's not frozen in there. And I actually have 3 lanterns, and when it gets super cold, I can light all 3 of them, have them on a low flame. It'll burn all night. It doesn't stink. It's clean burning kerosene that I got, so you can use it indoors or outdoors. And I can get that bitch up to 80 degrees if I wanted to. But I don't waste my fuel like that. Try to be conservative. Because it's about $10, roughly $10 a gallon. But I'm not the only homeless person out here because of these fraud scams. There's a lot of them, and I got an asshole that I caught jacking off. I'd say that's 20 feet from my tent, maybe 25. But he was far enough away, and it was dark enough that my bifocals, see, I wear bifocals. And the top part, when you're looking at the top part, I have excellent vision far away, and then I have good vision up close. But there's a section in between, a certain amount of footage in between, I can't make out details. Plus it was almost dark. I had went to go up to the store. Apparently he thought I was gone. Realized I forgot my $8 off coupon or whatever the hell it was. Came back to get the coupon. I'm sitting in the tent looking through my backpack, or what, I don't remember what the hell I was looking through, but whatever. And I heard, I was like, God damn, what's the raccoon? I mean, that raccoon's out early, and what the hell is he doing? And he's a big boy. He's a chonk boy. He eats good at all these businesses around here. And I got out of my tent to go see what he was up to, and I looked in that direction, because that's the direction I heard the sounds. Motherfucker pulled up his pants real quick and got himself together. And I said, what, motherfucker, you couldn't see a tent right there? It didn't dawn on me he was one of their fucking private investigators. And I tried to whip out get my camera and start recording, and for whatever reason, it didn't record. But I got him going up the hill, And later, when I left, I saw another one of the other homeless people that camped down here. And I said, have you seen anybody lurking around here? I made sure I did not bait them. I wanted to see what came out of their mouth. And she said, yeah, a guy meets this description, blah, 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 blah. I said, he's a fucking cop for my ex-boyfriend. He's a private investigator for some attorney.